Hello, CSBA, and welcome back to yet another episode here of CSBA Hoops Today. It is your boy Lion United here with Ace Wild. Ace, how we doing? It's another week of CSBA, and it was quite an interesting week here that we had this past week. How are we doing, and what are we looking forward to here this week and in this week's episode?
I'm doing good, man. We saw a lot of kind of upset wins last week. So I'm interested to see how teams start to go on a momentum run and start racking up those wins, or will teams start to go on a losing streak here?
Yeah, let's just get right into it since we're talking about winning streaks and losing streaks, as we got some new graphics here for our admin poll. So let's take a look at them here quick. We got the top 10. We got not a lot has changed here in the last week with UNC, Hawaii, and Oklahoma State all undefeated at 3-0, although one of those teams did take a loss. We'll get into that
Mm-hmm.
later on in the show. And then we have LSU, Kentucky, Illinois. Houston, A&M, Wichita State, and Kansas State. The biggest jump here is we had Texas A&M jump from number 12 to number 8, and we also had Wichita State jump into the top 10 for number 13. Ace, any surprises here going into week 4 based on the top 10 that we have here on the screen?
No, I'm not surprised at this at all. The only thing, maybe Texas A&M top 10, if not maybe 11 or 12, but I think that's a kind of like a perfect top 10 for this moment.
Texas A&M has a massive matchup that we will discuss here coming up in week 4, or excuse me, week 5. It is week 5, right? Yeah, it's week 5.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, they have a massive matchup against LSU. But let's take a quick peek here at 11 through 20 as we have a couple teams that jumped up. We have Arizona that dropped out of the top 10, but still undefeated at 3-0. We had Kansas drop 4 spots down to number 12 from number 8. And then we have Oregon State at 13 and Florida at 14, who jumped 3 spots. Michigan, Mississippi State, and then down 8 spots, Ace, from number
Mm.
9 to number 17 is Tennessee. And then Texas, Virginia Tech, and Michigan State rounding it out, who is a newcomer here to the top 20, coming in from number 23. But Ace, what are we thinking here? Tennessee dropping 8 spots. That makes me think that the admins, I guess they were 2-0, but then they lost. So I have a feeling if they lose again, they're gonna drop out of the top 20.
Yeah, I'm afraid to say that if they lose again, yeah, they'll probably go on out of the top 20 for sure. A team that might be a little too high, Oregon State. Um,
Yes.
and then we're going to see that pretty sure they lost last week
Yep.
again. So they might be out of the top 20 by next week. Um,
Yeah.
but Michigan State, Michigan State should go up. Texas might go down, as we're going to see up ahead. Michigan State beat Texas, so they should
Yeah. It's
maybe flip flop spots.
Yeah, Texas is just a very, very strange team. Them and Ohio are just two teams that I don't know if they're just getting super unlucky, but the records just are not panning out for them, and they got to start racking up some wins quick because they don't want to get behind the 8 ball too much if they want to make the tournament. But yeah, like you said, Michigan State also has a big time matchup against a top 10 team coming into this week here. But speaking of matchups, let's just jump right into our last week's matchups, and we will start with a slate of 3 games where we had number 4 LSU traveling to number 14 Florida. We had UConn taking on Creighton, and then we had a top 20 matchup between number 16 Mississippi State and number 8 Texas A&M. Ace, let's start with the LSU Florida matchup as LSU comes away with a big 10-point victory taking down the Gators, and we kind of talked about it last week, but that was one thing I was afraid of is we knew the Gators could score, but we know that they can give up some points too. So what do you think came out of that matchup?
Yeah, like we said last week, Florida, I think they've scored 90 plus points every game they played this season. So that's crazy. But their defense slacking a little bit. But I think in a loss, they still might stay 14-15, even though they played a good LSU team that's ranked number 4. So they shouldn't get penalized for that loss, really. But biggest thing for me, LSU 62 points in the paint, also shooting 53% from 3-point line.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
especially on the road.
mm, LSU is looking very impressive. But I'm gonna say still watch out for Florida. They might surprise a lot of teams this season.
Yeah, Florida had a nice performance here. I'm not expecting them to fall too far because, like you said, they're facing a top CSBA team in LSU, so I don't expect them to drop too much. You kind of touched on the box score there, but some of your top scorers for LSU, you have your typical scorer in De La Soul, who finished with 21, and then you had O'Neal with 16, 8, 4, 1, and 2 on 8 of 10 shooting. So LSU's offense was very efficient, and then for Florida, you have your usual Isaiah Alexander. I feel like we talk about him every week, putting up at least 20 points. He had 21 here tonight. So, yeah, like you said, not a lot to take out of this for Florida, besides they played very well against a top team. So I expect both of these teams to continue marching forward into next week. But let's just move on to the next matchup here, which was UConn and Creighton, two unranked teams. So we were kind of looking to see if one team would step up and take another step forward in this season. And Creighton did just that with a 10-point victory. Like I said, neither of these teams are ranked, so they're looking to get in the win column, ace anything to take away from this one.
Yeah, man. UConn had their chance to win this game. Creighton, I think, is a little bit better than UConn, but I think if UConn limited their turnovers, they could have pulled this off. UConn had 12 turnovers, leading to 19 Creighton
That's
points.
crazy.
Yeah. Malcolm Streets, once again, he's been balling out all year long. 17 points for him. But shout out to my boy Aaron Sanago.
Yes.
UConn UConn might have found their go-to scorer with 21 points and 2 assists and 2 steals on 9 of 13 shooting. So UConn might get a couple wins here at the end of the season. We'll see.
Yeah, I know we talked about last week. UConn needs to find that scorer and that player that just can take over a game. And like you said, Sonogo could be that guy. But like you said, it's going to be extremely difficult to win on the road when you turn the ball over 12 times and also shooting only 44% from the field, though they did shoot 6 for 11 from three. So um, I think UConn is starting to realize their potential and what they can do, but unfortunately came up just a little short here against Creighton. But the final game of the night, which was another big time matchup and could have been the game of the night, was number 16 Mississippi State taking down the Aggies 95-92. Ace, I'm not sure if you caught this one, but anything big that came out of that one for you?
No, it was a crazy back and forth game. Biggest thing I see, the box score really similar. Texas A&M actually won the bench points and still lost the game, but biggest thing for me was Mississippi State took 20 free throws in the game and made
Wow.
17 of them. So they were getting that foul line and knocking down their free throws. And we were saying it last week. Free throws so important. And if you can shoot 17 out of 20, you're probably gonna win that game.
Yeah, another thing that stands out for me is A&M turned it over 11 times.
Mm.
Although Mississippi State only scored 8 points off those 11 turnovers, but Mississippi State only turned the ball over 5 times as well. So A&M's got to figure it out as far as reducing those turnovers. But just looking on both teams here, you had a lot of big time scorers here for Mississippi State. Apollo Williams with 18 and 5 and 5 assists. Goldman with 15 and 7, and then threes chipping in 13 on 6 of 10 shooting. A double double from Hardaway, who finished with 12 points and 10 rebounds for Mississippi State. And then you have Corey Edwards on the A&M side with 17. So I think either of these teams could have won. Um, I expect both of these teams to get continue, with that momentum going into or continue with conference play. But overall, I think it was the game of the night, and it was a heck of a game. Obviously, with it being a 3-point game. But let's just move on to the next slate here, where we had a Syracuse Louisville game that I really was hoping the Cardinal could take a step forward, but they did not, unfortunately. C Webb's team got the best of them. But then we had number 19 Virginia Tech traveling to Providence, and then we had kind of touched on it briefly. Number 20 Michigan State going to Austin, Texas, to face off against number 18 Texas. Ace, we'll start with the non-ranked game between Syracuse and Louisville. Syracuse ended up getting the victory on the road, which is something that C Web and the squad really needed. Get back in the win column.
Oh, for sure. Syracuse, I think was on a 2 game losing streak. I'm pretty sure. So this is a huge get right game. But shout out to Louisville. They battled all game long. It was a close one up to the fourth quarter, and then Syracuse pulled away at the end. But the box score very similar, just maybe a little bit more bench points for Syracuse. And shout out my boy C-Web NK OTB with a double double, 14 points, 10 rebounds for him. But if you look on the Louisville side, you PD Wheatstraw looking very promising with a crazy double double for him, 15 points, 16 rebounds.
Listen,
Lion.
man. Listen, we're gonna definitely be seeing him in the player one of the players of the week.
Oh,
That
for sure.
that that is just absolutely insane in a losing performance, 15-16. The one thing that stands out to me for Louisville is they shot 3 of 12 from the three
Mm,
point line. So that is something that they definitely need to figure out as Syracuse hit 9 of 20. So they shot pretty dang good hitting 9 threes for the Orangemen. But man, I feel like we talk about it every week. It seems like Louisville is ready to take that next step, but they just something's missing, and I
mm,
don't necessarily know what it is, but I really would like to see Louisville get that victory here soon because if I remember correctly, they are 0-4, correct? Yeah, they are 0-4.
they are.
So I really would like to see Louisville take that next step. I can't remember who they have next week, so I'm not sure if it's a difficult matchup, but I think for them it's going to be a difficult matchup every single week. But yeah, Syracuse. I know you're beating an 0-3 now 0-14, but they need to get this win to get some confidence back in the Orangemen's favor. Uh, but the next matchup here that we can move on to is Virginia Tech. I
Mm.
mean, Ace, I think Providence is going to jump into the top 20 here as they defeated Virginia Tech 82-68. What stands out to you here?
I mean, a lot. Providence. I call this game, and Providence looked very dominating. 3 point percentage, 8 for 14 for 57% for Providence. To Virginia Tech really struggled, 2 for 12 for only 17%. That's not going to cut it. But shout out my boy Petro Melanishin. I'm pretty sure he was one of the top players last week, and I think, one of the top players this week as well, with finishing 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for him. He's just been a walking bucket all season long, and he if he can keep carrying the load, Providence can go on a run here.
Yeah, I definitely like Providence a lot. Like you said, Melanishin, we definitely talk about him every single week. One again, 3-point shooting stood out to me here. Virginia Tech 2 of 12, and Providence 8 of 14. So shooting 2 of 12 from the 3-point line is not going to get it done. And I have a feeling, Ace, that this is going to knock Virginia Tech out of the top 20. But we'll just have to wait and see here.
Yeah, and Providence moves in the top 20 for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then I think we had, yes, we had one more game here. We had a top 20 matchup between the Spartans of Michigan State and number 18 Texas. And Michigan State's keeping the momentum alive here as they get another victory, taking down the Longhorns by 8. And Ace, Michigan State's turning it on here, and Texas is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, 2 wins in a row for Michigan State. Biggest thing I see was Texas with 8 turnovers, leading to 13 Michigan State points. But this game was back and forth all game long. It was a really fun game to commentate. But shout out to Van Cha. What a monster performance for him.
Yeah.
23 points. And Dory Brown with a double double, 18-13. So two guys you got to prepare for if you play Michigan State.
Yeah, those are definitely going to be two guys that the Cowboys want to pay attention to in Oklahoma State next week because Van Cha, 10 of 12 shooting. I mean, that is quite impressive. And even Ray Gunn didn't even, and he's usually a top scorer for them, didn't even hit double figures, and they still got an 8-point win. And then you had your typical from Texas, Kai Avery with 20, Nowhere with 19. So Texas, man, I know they're a great team, but what that makes them 1-3 now. Ace, we're starting to get to the point in the season where if Texas loses another one and goes 1-4, and especially with the new tournament rules here, they might they need to turn it around quick.
Yeah, they definitely do. It's going to come down to strength of schedule, man. If they don't start winning here, it's not going to look good. And it doesn't
No.
get easier because they got Kansas this week, so
Yeah, good luck.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, good luck there. That'll be a top matchup of the week there. But moving on here to the next round of games, we have the arguably one of the biggest rivalry in sports with UNC number one and Duke. Then we have the Fighting Illini traveling to Kansas State, and then we have Arizona and Memphis. But we will start with UNC Duke, number one UNC getting the victory, but it wasn't easy against the Blue Devils by 6. Ace, are you a little bit surprised at how close this one was?
Yeah, I was kind of worried for Duke as we were talking about it last week of this matchup, but shout out to Duke. They really balled out, especially an unranked team going against a number one in the
Yeah.
country. I that's crazy. Bench points for Duke, 44-25.
Wow.
That in Duke still lost, but they shot the three ball so good.
Dude, that's
14
insane.
for 25, but the points in the paint killed them.
How
56
do
to
you lose a
26.
game making 14 threes compared to 3? Well, you just said it. You give up you're negative 30 in the points in the paint.
Yep,
But dude,
man.
that's 2 straight games where UNC has faced because they faced Creighton last week, right? And
Yes.
that was a tough one. So, do you think we may see North Carolina drop from the number 1 spot after they've seemed to struggle the last 2 weeks?
I don't think we're gonna see them drop, but I wonder who do they play this week? Do we know? Let me look real quick.
Yeah, I can pull up the schedule too.
Syracuse.
Yeah, they
Mm,
should be able to win that one. But
yeah,
you never know. You never know.
you never know, but um, I still think North Carolina's still the number one team, but
Yeah.
um, they got to be careful because anybody can win any week. So
Yeah, 2 big time performances from the Tar Heels out of Crenshaw and Baby the Second, shooting 9 of 10 and 9 of 12 respectively for 23 points and 21 points. You had Cass with 10 points and 10 assists, so you love seeing that in a double-double for the Tar Heels. And then for Duke in the very close loss, you have Showtime Jones with 22 points and Washingbeard with 15. So Duke was definitely there and ready for the win, but the Tar Heels end up pulling it out. And then next up, we have the Fighting Illini defeating Kansas State on the road and
mm,
Mr. Bartlett 91-80. Ace, I was kind of I was kind of expecting potentially for the Wildcats to get the win here and take down the Fighting Illini, but Illinois said not so fast.
yeah, we'll have to see if this loss for Kansas State knocks them out of the top 10. But shout out to Illinois only committing one turnover that whole game. That
Wow.
is massive. Um, and we see it, I think, every week. Britt Brownstone,
Mhm.
one of the top scorers in this league, 27 points once again. He's he's just been lighting it up all season long.
Yeah, yeah, Britt Brownstone is someone that you need to shut down if you wanna win. Not a lot of crazy scoring, high scores for Kansas State. Top scorer was Cheeks with 13, and then you have Dubois with 12 and Bartlett with 12, 1 rebound away from a double-double. But Illinois definitely came away with a big time victory here on the road against Kansas State. But not a lot really else to say there. One turnover is quite impressive. If you're Illinois, only giving up one turnover, that's really, really good. But yeah, big time win for Illinois. That should keep them within the top 10. Loss for Kansas State, like you said, that will probably drop them out of the top 10. But then the last matchup that we have of that night is Memphis pulling off the upset, taking down Arizona 82 to 72. Ace, Memphis, I've always said, has it in them to beat top teams, and they finally did it here against Arizona. So they have wins technically against two top 20 teams now, taking down Oregon State and Arizona. So what do you think about the Tigers here taking down the Wildcats?
Oh yeah, I knew Memphis was a good team, and I know they struggled to start the season. I think they were 0-2, but I think they're 2-2 now. So
Yep.
I knew they would turn around at some point. They're a very, very good squad. Biggest thing, oh, 3-point percentage, 9 for 16 for
Yep.
Memphis. But shout out to AJ Zachary, massive double double for him, 23 points and 10 rebounds. But this, I thought Arizona 72 points. That's kind of low, don't you think?
Yeah, that's not good. You're not gonna win a game scoring. See, I've always come to kind of see, if you're putting up 60s or low 70s, you're most likely gonna lose that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Arizona putting up 72. But one thing that kind of stood out to me, first of all, like you said, AJ Zachary, he's been balling out the last few weeks. He's been their best player, in my opinion, the last couple games. But something that they need to turn around here is Jalen Tyree.
Mm,
He 21 points and he only had 4 or 21 minutes. He only had 4 points. Now he did have 6 assists, but he shot 1 of 9 from the field.
yeah,
So, I mean, you can honestly look at it two ways. You can say, "Hey, arguably one of our best players was terrible and we just beat a number 11 Arizona by 10." So just imagine if he actually plays well.
for sure. And if I know Tyree, he'll turn it around. He's not gonna have two bad games back to back weeks.
No. No. So this maybe could propel Memphis into the top 20. We'll have to wait and see. But Arizona's definitely going to drop from this one since they lost to a non-ranked team here. But we'll have to wait and see how the admins determine that one. But um, we can move on to the next day here. As let's get that pulled up here. We had a slate of 4 games here, and we had some slobber knockers. Let me tell you, the first 3 games were heck of a game. Such good games. As we had Houston, number 7, traveling to number 3, Oklahoma State. And then we had number 15, Michigan, against number 12, Kansas. Number 9, Wichita State against number 13, Oregon State. And then to round out the night, we had number 2, Hawaii, taking on the Zags of Gonzaga. But Ace, unfortunately,
Hmm.
we will start with your matchup here of Houston and Oklahoma State, with Houston getting the better of Oklahoma State 97 to 89. I know, I mean, I'm upset about it too. You're upset about it. Is there anything that you want to say to the people here live on the podcast about that game?
I mean, we know Houston is a very good team, and we know their coach is always going to have a battle, no matter who they play. But
Yeah.
Houston, they've been so tough for so many years, and but Oklahoma State. It was probably the ugliest first half I ever
Oh,
watched. I was watching at work, and it made
I
me
turned it off.
wanna
Ace, I
yeah.
turned it off.
But I fought through it, and we actually started playing a lot better in the second half, but, man, Oklahoma State still lost when Houston shot 2 for 15 from the
Dude,
three-point line.
I was
But
gonna say,
Oklahoma S
how do
yeah.
you almost they almost scored 100 points and made 2 threes.
Mhm. Yep, I know. And Oklahoma State, they shot 3 ball good, 8 for
Mhm.
18. That's not too bad, but the biggest thing was points in the paint. I don't know if the bigs were out drinking last night or what, but 60 points in the paint ain't gonna get it done. Um,
Dude.
so we gotta lock it in and figure some things out here.
Yeah, the big men were just their big men were just making the Cowboys big men just look like elementary
Mhm.
kids out there the way they were playing, but, I mean, I consider it a win for holding Leon Sandcastle to 12 and 11. Um,
Yes.
that's big time. As far as the Cowboys are concerned, again, Rodney Smith leading the way with 17 points. Jay Gates with 6 of 7 shooting, with 14, and then you have King James with 11, 1, and 6 assists. So you love all the assists coming out. Of your top 3 there, Smith had 3, Gates had 5, and James had 6, but, I
Like to see
mean,
a little bit more of Ace Wild. I don't know. Oh,
yeah,
he only
what
took
was Ace doing?
I don't know. He only took 6 shots and 2 for 6. You know, I gotta talk to myself and figure that out too. So
Yeah, and I mean, Michigan's or Oklahoma State has a tough matchup here against Michigan State, so that's no easy feat. Luckily, the Cowboys are at home, but um, we can end the conversation there and we can move on, Ace. I know that's still stinging you a little bit there, but the
yeah,
next game was another great game between two top 15 teams in Michigan and Kansas. And Michigan, our boy Rusty coming away with the victory, 94-86, Ace.
yeah. Michigan, uh, Dylan Dominga, monster
Yeah.
night for him. Michigan won this game with only shooting 1 for 6 from 3-point
How are
line.
these teams scoring just about 100 points and making 1 or 2 threes? That's just insane.
Well, you see, Kansas had 10 turnovers, leading to 18 Michigan points. So we
Yeah, it's
say
not
it
good.
all the time. You got to limit those turnovers, or they're going to kill you. But the bench completely out dominated Kansas bench, and eight more points in the paint. So um, I knew Michigan would start to get a little win streak going on here. Um, Kansas, Kansas, I still think it's a very good team.
I was gonna say, I does this drop Kansas out of the top 20 potentially? I know Michigan's 15, but if you look at Kansas's wins,
Yeah,
they've beaten Duke and UConn.
I think you're looking at number 18 or number 19 for KU.
Yeah, because 'cause I've yet to really see them beat a top team. I mean, they lost to their toughest competition so far to Kansas State and Michigan, so it'll be interesting to see how Kansas can bounce back from this. Like you said, I think they're still a top 20 team, but, I think this definitely moves Michigan up a little bit with them at 3-2 now. I know they really don't have a top win either, or to 2-2, I'm sorry. They beat Louisville and Kansas, so if we're calling Kansas they don't have very good wins. So if they beat Louisville and Kansas, I think they'll maybe stay around the same mark in Michigan. But I think this will drop Kansas a couple spots.
For sure.
And then up next, we had yet another top 15 matchup between number 9 Wichita State and number 13 Oregon State. And the Shockers are coming away with a 10-point victory here, Ace. And I tell you what, Mort and the Shockers, they just keep on winning.
Yeah, they're Mart's doing a great job this season. 4-0 to start. I'm pretty sure they got a little tough matchup this week, so
Yep.
we'll we'll see if that continues. But If Daniel Hartman can keep balling out for Wichita
9 of
State,
12.
I think they can go far. And that whole team's scrappy. You
Mhm.
really don't. You really don't want to face Wichita State.
No. I mean, now I'm looking at their wins, where if we're gonna talk about wins and losses here, they really haven't had the toughest schedule yet. They've beaten Vanderbilt, Syracuse, Gonzaga, and Oregon State. I know Oregon State came in here ranked, but I would expect them Ace to potentially drop out of the top 20 here because they also haven't really beaten anyone, and with this loss here, I think the admin poll, they might start, seeing through Oregon State a little bit here.
Yeah. Like I said, 13 might be a little too high. So we'll see if who do you think ranks higher in the next poll, Kansas or Oregon State?
Oh,
Probably
Kansas.
Kansas. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
I like
I'm
Kansas more.
I'm gonna say Oregon State 20, and then I would have KU 18.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, I'm gonna give Kansas another shot. They need to win this week though if they want to stay in the top 20. Um, and then Oregon State, I mean, you start out with Louisville and Creighton, and then you end up losing to Memphis and Wichita State, who are definitely the tougher of the four opponents in those two that you lost to. So I'm not saying Oregon State can't come back from this, but uh, it's not looking good as far as when they face good competition. They're losing each of those games. So
Oh yeah.
but then the last matchup here was no real surprise. You had number two Hawaii getting the victory against Gonzaga as they won by 22. Ace, is there really much to say about this one?
No, Hawaii just BTA. But uh, the biggest thing, rebounds. 42 for Hawaii to only 26 for Gonzaga, and 58 points to only 30 for Gonzaga. So Hawaii was just dominating the paint all game
Listen,
long.
listen, man. Gonzaga, if they didn't have Keith Times, who
Hmm.
who would score for them? I mean, I know
Uh,
there's a lot of people scoring here, but there's only one person in double figures.
yeah, I don't even want to picture it if they didn't have them, to be honest.
Like Keith Times is trying their darndest to carry that team. But it's just not working out because they're now 0-4, and I mean, it's just not looking good for them. I know Hawaii had their little fancy bright green uniforms on there that night, but their top scorer was Ferreira. There was 16 on 7 of 14 shooting. But Hawaii, they're number two in the nation, and like North Carolina, they just keep on winning. But I can see, Ace, we kind of talked about North Carolina has struggled a little bit the last 2 games. I can maybe see Hawaii jumping them. We'll have to wait and see. But if it were ever to happen, I think Hawaii potentially could do it after UConn has struggled the last couple weeks.
Oh, for sure.
Uh, and then last but not least, the last slate of 3 games here, we
Oh,
have
you
tennis.
forgot one.
Oh, I forgot one.
No, never mind. This is the next game. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. You had me on my toes there a little bit. I was about to give you credit and say, "This is why you're on the show helping me out." Uh, but yeah, we have number 17 Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and then we have two unranked teams in Ohio versus UCLA, which you're hoping for a good game there. We'll have to wait and see. And then what I was anticipating to be the matchup of the night didn't necessarily turn out to be that way. But we have number 5 Kentucky traveling to Auburn. Ace, this night was full of blowouts. I'm just going to be blunt here. As Tennessee, we'll start with
Yeah.
them beating Vanderbilt by 30.
Yeah, it wasn't a good night. This might be a CSBA record. Uh, okay, so the Tennessee Vanderbilt game, both teams did not shoot the three ball good, but Tennessee 76 points
Good
in the paint,
God. Plus 40, Ace. Plus 40.
and the rebounds 46 to 27. for Tennessee. Man, Travis hurt. They had 2 guys score 20, so for
They scored
Tennessee,
94 points, and McFadden only had 5.
that's scary.
5.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, it
I
Vanderbilt Ace, they're not good. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I'm sorry. I feel like every time we watch or talk about them, they're just getting massacred.
Yeah, they just we talk about it, you gotta get in the gym, you just gotta practice, but they
Ugh.
they got a lot of work to do, but
Yeah, but I will say we'll say some positives here. Swearinger Jr. had 11 points, and then Adams had 10. So you had two players in double figures there, but I can't imagine the home fans were very happy with that home performance. But that's all that we'll say with that one.
mm,
Um, next
no,
up,
and yeah.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say if the fans don't like how their team played at home, you don't wanna see the next game.
Boy, yeah. UCLA didn't even score 50, folks. Ohio beat them 87 to 49.
I feel so bad for my boy Quan. I know he's trying his hardest over there and trying to figure stuff out. What can I say? 60 points in the
We
paint
love eight.
for
We love him in
Ohio.
prime time. That's all I gotta say.
Oh yeah, he's killing it. Man, it's just not a ugly it is an ugly team comparison, but shout out for his own player. His
Mm-hmm.
own player
Mm-hmm.
had 11 on 5 of 7 shooting, but when you got 5 guys, 6 guys, 5 points or less, it's not gonna be a good game.
Yeah, it's tough sledding out there. I mean, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but UCLA shot 20 of 60. That's 33% to
Mm.
our listeners to do a little quick math there. Uh, yeah, that's just simply not going to cut it when UCLA is known to be a basketball school. That is just not good. But now on Ohio's side, they finally get their first win. This is kind of the Ohio that everyone was expecting, to see beating teams down like this. But Ohio, I'm gonna see if they can carry this momentum, but they need to carry this momentum quick because again, like I said, they're 1-3, and the season is going by quickly. So they need to start racking up the wins.
Oh, for sure, and they gotta do it fast, but they're also in a tough conference, so,
Hmm.
um, let's see if they can get some wins against,
You think they're
little
one of the
strong.
biggest busts this year based on the preseason?
Yes, but if anyone could turn it around, I think Ohio can.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But then this one kind of surprised me a little bit, not by the who won the game, but by just the sheer margin of victory. Just, Auburn coming off that big time high of last week with Cease Miller, and then Kentucky just coming in and just slamming the door.
Yeah, um, I think Auburn maybe, shot too many threes in the game,
20 of
uh,
them.
and they only made 4 of them. The biggest thing I'm seeing is just points in the paint,
Dear God, they're plus
6
38.
38 rebounds, 26 to no, sorry, 46 to 24. Bench points, assist, like second chance, everything leading towards Kentucky side. It was just uh, kind of a bloodbath.
Yeah, Dante Smalls leading the way for the Wildcats with 21 points, and then Free with 18. I mean, Cease Miller led Auburn, but it was a little bit of a letdown from last week. They finished with 12 points and 5 rebounds. So, I mean, Auburn was coming into this week riding high with a win over Tennessee, but I think they were kind of brought back down to reality here with losing to Kentucky here, and that's for sure going to keep them from joining the top 20. I think, Ace.
for sure.
Uh, but nonetheless, those are the slate of games that we had from week 4. So let's jump right into our players of the week. And we have 5 of them here. We have Michigan State, D. Brown, 18 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. So a massive double double there in the victory. And then we had, as we talked a little bit about it earlier, Zachary from Memphis, another double double with 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. And then we say this guy's name every single week. Brownstone for Illinois, 27 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And then shout out to Louisville and Wheatstraw. This was a heck of a performance in their loss. 15 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. And then Ace, I feel like we say this man's name every single week in Player of the Week. Providence Melanishin, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. What do you think about this top 5, and do you think that anyone else deserves some recognition as well outside of this top 5?
Honestly, this is a perfect top 5. Ah, man, I'm trying to debate who was the number 1 player this week. It's either, in my eyes, AJ Zachary or Melanishin,
I
and
gotta
I'm
go
thinking
Melanishin.
yes, I'm thinking I'm leaning towards
Even though he
Melanishin
didn't have a double double, I just I don't know. There's just something in my mind that pushes me towards Melanishin.
for sure. Yeah, but this is a perfect top 5, and Melanishin your player of the week.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. So if anyone has any different thoughts, feel free to post up on the comments or in the league chat. We'd love to hear from you. But then our last segment of the week is our top games that we're looking forward to in week 5 here, Ace, and we'll kick it off. Actually, I'll let you kick it off. Why don't you go down the list here?
All right, Monday, we got Kansas State taking on Houston
Oh
at
boy,
10. I mean, can
Cougs.
I do
I'm going with the Cougars.
my pick'ems too at these
Yeah,
5
yeah.
games?
We'll do
6
our
games?
pick'ems. Yeah, we'll do our pick'ems. I'm going with Houston here because Kansas State's coming off a loss, right? So, and
Yeah,
Houston's coming off that big time victory. So I think Houston's going to take the momentum here.
I'm going with Houston as well. And then on Tuesday, we got Wichita State taking on Arizona. Uh, I think I'm gonna go with Arizona. You know,
Really?
they lost last week, and I think they're gonna come back. And this is gonna be I think
Oh
the
yeah.
toughest game Wichita State's played all year.
Oh,
So
by far.
I'm I'm going with the upset Arizona pulling it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, I mean, and remember, folks, these rankings are last week's rankings since the time of this recording. The admin poll was not released yet, so these rankings won't be, completely accurate. But both these teams are definitely top 20 teams. Don't get me wrong here. But I'm gonna take the Shockers here. I'm just looking at their schedule. I know they really haven't played a lot of tough teams, and if I look at Arizona, I want to see, do they have a better win? I think technically I mean, if you're looking at strictly rankings, I think Wichita State has the better win here since they beat Oregon State, and
Yeah,
Arizona's, I think, best win rankings wise is Virginia Tech. But I'm sticking with my board more here. I think they're gonna continue the momentum and continue to 5-0.
for sure. I can see that. And then on Wednesday, July 1st,
Kicking off with a
uh,
bang.
yep, we got Texas A&M taking on LSU.
Woo.
Um, that should be a good one, but I think LSU is gonna pull it off. But man, Texas A&M's that game is
Ace, it
LSU
it
is gonna
it
pull it off,
bothers me
but
that all these
yeah,
games are at 10 p.m. because it's past my bedtime.
for sure. But I'm gonna go with LSU, but this game it could be like a 5 point LSU win.
Yeah, I expect this to be a scrap. I do as well go with the Tigers, especially being at home. Um, Texas A&M, they beat Texas, which is a solid squad. Don't get me wrong, not according to their record, but you just look at it, it's a solid squad. A&M, like I said with Texas, and then obviously LSU. They are 3-1. They've beaten Michigan State. They've beaten Florida. They've beaten Texas. I think their strength of schedule is going to lead them to a victory and continue leading them to 4-1 and staying potentially within the top or getting into or staying at the top five, should I say?
Oh, for sure. And then on Thursday, we got Illinois taking on Michigan at 10.
Oof.
You know what? I might be crazy, but I'm going to go with Michigan. You know,
Rusty, you're a fan of Rusty, huh?
Rusty, they had a good win last week against KU,
Yep.
and I think they finally start riding that momentum. Man, it's going to be a great game, but I think Michigan pulls it off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to differ here. I'm gonna go with
Mm.
Illinois.
Okay.
I'm going with the Illini on the road. I just think they have better wins, in my opinion, with taking down Memphis, who's coming on hot. They took down Florida, who can score with any of them, and they beat Bartlett's Kansas State. Obviously, their only loss being to Oklahoma State, and I value that loss big time because I think Oklahoma State is a very good team. So I'm taking the Illini on the road.
Yeah. I mean, I
Britt
think that
Brownstone,
game
man. Britt Brownstone.
I think that game could be another coin flip. That's how close it could come down to. But and you can't forget Tomahawk for
Yeah.
Illinois. So yeah, I can see Illinois winning. Man, it's just we'll see. And then on Friday, the end of the
Not a
week,
lot to choose from there.
Creighton, Virginia Tech. You know what? I know I picked.
And
I'm gonna go.
bear in mind, I think Virginia Tech most likely will not be ranked at the time of this playing.
No, but I'm gonna go with three underdogs this week. I'm
Gonna
gonna
take
go.
Creighton.
I'm gonna take Creighton.
Listen, I'm also gonna take Creighton. They very easily could have beaten North Carolina. Okay.
Yep.
And then they lost to who was it last week? We literally just covered it. How am I forgetting this already?
Virginia
Um
Tech lost to Providence.
no, no, Creighton. Creighton, Creighton,
Oh,
Creighton.
Creighton beat
Yes, they beat UConn. Yes. So
UConn.
2 weeks ago they lost to North Carolina. Could have
Yeah,
won. I know UConn's not good, but they're coming off a win. I believe this is going to be the week that Creighton gets their second win in a row.
for sure. And last thing I want to say, I hope everyone has a great 4th of July.
Yes.
Um, the next time you see another recording will be after the 4th. So I hope everyone has a good and safe 4th of July.
Yes, and I will second that. I hope everyone has an awesome 4th of July because our next recording, like I said, will be after the actual celebration. So apologies for no highlights this week. It was an extremely busy week, so I'm just happy that Ace and I were able to get a product and an episode out there. So highlights should be back next week, but I feel like this was a pretty good episode that we covered here. But that'll do it for Ace and I here in the booth. I hope you all are looking forward to the games coming up here this week, and we will catch you guys in the Twitch streams or in League Chat. So with that being said, we'll see you next week, and happy 4th.